This is Unity of Charlotte's presentation for today. I am glad you came. I am very glad you came. Thank you for coming. Let us speak together. Unity's prayer of oneness. Together, there is one presence and one power in my life and universe. God, the good, omnipotent. Ha. Welcome to Unity of Charlotte. Shall we pray? Through faith, we create the good we desire. Faith is our guiding light. It keeps us hopeful when tempted to doubt and cheerful when we might otherwise feel gloomy. Faith tells us that even when the sky appears cloudy, the sun is still shining brightly above the clouds. Faith gives us a secure footing in the present as I plan for the future. Faith is the assurance that I am never alone, that everything I dream and do is divinely inspired. Every step I take in the direction of my aspirations is fueled by faith that they can come to pass. All of wisdom, all of power, all of love, and all the strength are mine to express as only I can. I leave hesitancy behind. I use these divine attributes boldly and with confidence. Faith shows us all the way forward. Thank you, universe. Amen, amen, amen. And now for our announcements. Announcements? There they are. Affirmative prayer, Tuesday evenings at 7:15 on Zoom. The Path of Initiation, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. on Zoom. The men's group meets in person at the church, second and fourth Wednesdays. A Course in Miracles meets Thursdays at 9:30 on Zoom. All of this information can be found on our website, unityofcharlotte.org. Finally, we're expanding our team of ushers and greeters. It's easy to ush and greet. See Maria Malave for the training and the details. Speak with me now, our affirmation for our new minister. Together we affirm that we are calling in and are ready to receive another wonderful minister who is heart-centered, wise, sincere, humorous, and collaborative, and who openly walks a spiritual path of love, growth, and service. And so it is. Today is our speaker is Rebecca Nagy. It's up to me to introduce her. I didn't ask her what to say yet, but we know her, don't we? Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful day outside, isn't it? Golly Moses. So, I like to start with a joke. So here's today. And I'm going to let you tell me at the end what it's all about. So Jack was walking around a mountain cliff one day. And all of a sudden he stumbled and fell over the cliff, but was lucky enough to grab hold of a branch. So he's, okay, I can do this. Hey, is anyone out there? Help. Is anyone up there? waits for a moment. Is anyone up there? And all of a sudden, this big voice booms out from the heavens. Jack, it's God. I'm here. He goes, God, can you help me? Can you help me? He goes, absolutely, Jack. What do you need? I need to get up on the cliff and not fall. He goes, I got your back, Jack. Just let go. And Jack says, what? He said, let go. Just let go. And Jack pauses for a few minutes and, is there anybody else up there? And so what is the lesson? Let go and let God. There you go. And that's really what my talk is about today, is letting go. And am I doing this the wrong way again? Even if I've done this 1,000 times. So today I'm going to take you on a little golden quest. And for those of you that may not know what I do in other parts of my life, one of the parts is I have a mystery school called the Golden Quest. And so today, as I'm going to take you on this golden quest, we're going to go down this yellow brick road. It's really about the hero's journey. And the idea of going down our road or our path is the idea, I'm going to put my glasses on now so I can read, is the idea that Dorothy's journey away from Kansas and back again represents a spiritual quest or our own hero's journey. It's our looking for true home. And she was looking for home, right? There's no place like home. There's no place like home. And yet it's also a move towards self-actualization, atonement, or at one-ment, wholeness or holiness. It's remembering to become again one member of what was and what is and what will always be. And it's sort of like looking at a wave. Does a wave have a home? When a wave looks deeply into itself, it realizes the presence of all the other waves, doesn't it? When we are mindful, fully living each moment of our daily lives, we may realize that everyone and everything around us is our home. And we look into each other's eyes and we see ourselves. We also see through to the soul, and the soul is one. And so the idea that I love about the fact that we have to wear masks right now is it draws attention to our eyes. We look into the soul of our fellow beings every time we look at each other. And you know the idea of your smile hits your eyes? I've really practiced that. And I've learned to kind of go like this so that they know I'm smiling. And the idea is to be aware that just like we can look deeply into ourselves to see what we're made up of, that's also what the wave does. As Thich Nhat Hanh says, a wave looking deeply into herself will see that she is made up of all the other waves and will no longer feel she is cut off from everything around her. What I also love about this time of the pandemic, and there are things to love, like I love technology. And so I was using Zoom before everybody else started using Zoom because I was using it for my school. And the thing is, when we connect over Zoom, and hi, everybody on Zoom and soon to be on YouTube and streaming services that we use here at Unity of Charlotte, one of the things I like about that is we also are connecting mind to mind over the internet. It's a way of connecting. It's an energy outside of ourselves and yet within ourselves. It's very metaphysical if you think about it. And it's very new thought, because new thought, we say everything is one. So as we look at spirituality, spirituality can be viewed in two ways, the spiritual journey that we're on. First, it's in a secular sense. It can be seen as an accumulation of one's higher values, virtues, and ideals. Second, spirituality is a sacred sense of the part of oneself that is connected to the universe, your divine essence, or the perfume within the clay jar. You've heard about that, the idea that the clay jar absorbs the perfume in it so you can just pick it up. And even though the perfume may be gone, the essence is still there. Truth, whoops, we're going forward too far. Truth is actually what the Wizard of Oz is all about. It's true, absolutely and completely, or as the Munchkins would say, morally, ethically, spiritually, physically, positively, absolutely true. Follow the yellow brick road. But there's a difference, however, between truth and facts. Although facts may be true, they do not always lead to truth. You know, there are many instances where a series of facts, and just think about what's going on in our world today, a series of facts have led to the wrong truth simply because of which facts were attended to and which were ignored. We put filters on. And one of the ideas of walking our spiritual path is to take off the filters and look within ourselves. Although many holy books that we know about may not always contain facts, because what they actually contain are symbols, metaphors, myths, and dreams. And these are all signs pointing to the truth. So if we look at what's going on today and we can boil them down to those type of metaphors, especially metaphors right now, then we can see that they are symbols for something that lies in a bigger way behind those truths that we seemingly are going through right now. And the reality of the Wizard of Oz is actually then very real. If you look deep enough, you see there is no difference between reality and fantasy. What do we say? Thoughts are things. And so when we actually fantasize and we think about something that we dream about or want to do, we can visualize it. I had a great example of that in my own journey this morning, getting from my bedroom to your place, because I was running just a little bit behind. I live about 40 minutes away. Now, I was taught in the seminary I went to that if you just hold in your mind a time you want to get someplace and don't look at a clock and just hold that in mind, you can actually time warp to where you are. I haven't tried that for many years. So I thought, well, today is the day to do it. So like I said, I'm about 40 minutes away from here, and I got in my car at 5 till 9. And that's the last time I looked at the clock. And I just said, because I know I was talking about Dorothy today. So I was doing the Miss Gulch thing, the Miss Gulch rap. And I kept thinking, I'm going to walk in there at 9:25. What time did I get here, Ellen? 9:25. I walked into the room. I made a 40-minute drive in under 40 minutes. Right? So the idea that we limit ourselves by looking at the outward world and saying, oh, I can't, I won't, is an illusion. And so everything we see around us are all variants of the same reality. And what do we say about reality? Reality is our reality by the perceiving we give it, right? By our perception. So let's look at Dorothy as the hero, the same as we look at Jesus, the Buddha, Harry Potter, Luke Skywalker, Arthur, Muhammad. They all demonstrate for us the hero's journey. How many of you are familiar with Joseph Campbell? I would think everybody in the room, right? The power of myth. So let's look at some similarities between the path that Jesus set out for us and the one that Dorothy took. Both Dorothy and Jesus had questions regarding their parentage. Started out life as very common, ordinary people. Had to flee in the early part of their lives. Traveled a path with a clear beginning and an unavoidable end. They battled evil in different forms. They found companions along the way to help them with their journey. They had companions who were scattered in times of turbulence or who denied them at the end, right? They went through wilderness, forests, or deserts. They found or possessed an inner power to help transcend their experience. Let me repeat that. They found within themselves an inner power to help transcend their experiences. They eventually went home or returned to another dimension, leaving sad companions behind, and were not afraid to take a stand on moral issues or principles. So let's look at some of these lessons that Dorothy showed us as the quest begins. As the story begins, how many of you have not seen The Wizard of Oz? Just checking. All right. As the story begins, we see Dorothy, a girl of 12, running down a road. Her age is pertinent as it's the end of childhood and the beginning of the transition to adulthood. In it, two realms or ways of seeing meet: the dependent, intuitive child. And what does the master say? Be ye as little children. Go with your gut, your intuition, your heart. And the independent, logical adult. So, as the quest begins, Miss Gulch arrives at the farm. Like I said, it appears that Toto, Dorothy's dog, has bitten her on the leg, and she wants to take him to the sheriff to be destroyed. Off with his head. Someone else said that in another fairy tale, right? According to the law, Miss Gulch was right. One person's animal does not have the right to invade the space of another, much less bite that person on the leg, even though she maybe, deserved it. But by the law, Miss Gulch was right. But is the law always definitive of right and wrong? Let's look at morals when we talk about the law. Psychologist Lawrence Kohlberg described morality or moral reasoning in 6 different places. We have morality when we're fear punishment. So we make the idea that, I'm gonna hurt about this, so I better make the right decision. How many people today can you look around and see that they're making decisions based on what they're going to be punished for or not punished for? We also make decisions based on the reward at the end. That's the carrot on the stick, right? We also look for social approval. We also look at our social contracts with who we've made or what the law is. The next one is actually social contracts. And we also look at universal principles. I would think most of us in this room tend towards the 6th one, looking at universal principles. That's where we can see our moral compass keep being turned in times of turbulence and in times of making a decision. Those who let laws, holy books, religious edicts, or religious figures determine right and wrong without questioning, are abdicating the responsibility as human beings. Now, we know that there are human beings that have changed different words in different holy texts, no matter what the texts are. And we always have to look in our heart to see the truth behind the words. The words are symbols for truth. The words are just a symbol. And as we write from the mind or from inspiration, as the holy books were written, and we put it on paper, we're already bringing it down in frequency from the 5th dimension, the world of thought, boom, down into the 3rd dimension. So it's already lost some of its meaning. That's why we meditate on symbols and words and phrases, to get beyond the words and back in to the 5th dimension where the concept lives in its entire purity, in the purity of what it meant. Every religion has to allow its followers to look beyond the words. So, but at one time, we had to look at something else. Segregation and overt racial discrimination were actually legal as we followed our path. Even in this country, slavery was legal. And so it takes principled beings to challenge and shape the law. There's Mr. Toto. And who is Toto? What does Toto represent on our journey? Toto is actually our inner, intuitive, instinctual, most animal-like part. It's our animal self, the body, the one that's saying, don't do this, do this, do this, do this. And when we're in our rational mind too much, we don't listen to our instinctual knowing. Throughout the movie, Dorothy has conversations with Toto, or her inner intuitive self, right? The lesson here is to listen to the Toto within. I'm giving you a new name for their guidance, Toto. Listen to the Toto within and understand that Toto was never wrong. How many times have you had an intuitive thought or inclination to do something and you talked yourself out of it, and then when you did the other thing, it was like, I should have listened to my intuition. Whenever we're trying to make a decision in life, even which way to come to work in the morning, we are given two choices: our intuition or our rational mind. Today, I actually went with my intuition and came a different way to get here, not the way that Siri was trying to tell me. And so I just turned Siri off. I said, I'm going the way I think is the best today. And like I said, I got here in time. And the other thing about our intuitive voice, when we ignored it, it cannot be contained. That nagging, niggling thought that keeps showing itself. And a lot of times it shows itself in your dreams. In your dreams. And so let's look at the fact that as Dorothy began down the yellow brick road, one of the first things she encountered when she landed in Oz were the Munchkins. Munchkins, by their childlike appearance and mannerisms, represent the spiritual ideal, which is the child state, like I was referring to before. Children also, at least most of them, forgive easily, are quick to love because they want to be loved, and are content to live in the moment. How many times do you project yourself forward? Now, I had to do that this morning to get here, but how many times do you project yourself forward and when you're making a decision going on yourself, what if, what if, what if? And then you talk yourself out of it. The next part of our journey here is you see Dorothy in a field of poppies. Now, let's talk first about what led Dorothy to Oz. It was a whack on the side of the head, wasn't it? When the cyclone came, the cyclone represents our emotional body. And boy, a cyclone, when it hits us hard. And it hit her on the side of the head, and she went into a dreamlike state. How many times do we get a whack on the side of the head? And it helps us to go within and go, what is this about? Hopefully we say that and not go into shame and blame. Hopefully we look at something that whacks us on the side of the head and say, I think something's happening here that I need to take a look at. What is it? A whack on the side of the head. So as she's going down the yellow brick road, she goes into a terrible journey that she's being chased by dark forces. Or shall we say, a dark force. As she's going down that yellow brick road that represents our spiritual path, who is she looking for? She's looking for someone to help her. She's looking for who Glinda told her, the good witch Glinda, told her is the Wizard of Oz. But again, she's putting limitations on herself. The Wizard of Oz is a physical being. What she really needs to find is the realm of Oz, where the magic exists. Because she's not in Kansas anymore, as she told Toto. Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore. Yeah, I know, because Kansas was black and white, and you're now in color. Remember that when it switched to color? It was like a big deal back in those days. So the idea that Glinda is a figure not represented in any other dimension, because Kansas doesn't have magic. Or does it? Thus, Glinda can be said to be truly other dimensional. She's a being of light, a spirit or celestial power who appears both in the physical form in Munchkin land and now in the non-physical form in the poppy field. The field of poppies where she dreams. Now, she's not really drugged in Oz. She dreams in Oz because poppies represent spiritual sleep. And to me, spiritual sleep is when we contact our guides and spirits on the inner realm. How many people saw Star Wars? Okay. And when Luke was on the ice planet Hoth and thought he was dying, who appeared to him but Obi-Wan Kenobi, his inner guide, leading the way? Everybody's hero journey, you, all of us, have guides that contact us in any way they can. My favorite form is dreams, and I have dream journals going back to high school because that has always been where my powerful inspiration came from. And so Glinda was then able to help Dorothy awake from that sleep as she did her magic and woke her up. And what did she send? She sent snow to wake her up, waking her up almost like manna from heaven to allow her to be fed and awakened from her spiritual sleep. Then we have the Wicked Witch. This is the shadow. The Wicked Witch represents our shadow side, or the dark unconscious part of our personalities that the conscious ego tries to ignore. Think about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or Darth Vader and the young Anakin Skywalker. So what happens at the castle? She's been captured. What happens when we get captured? We get limited, right? There's a song in Wicked called Unlimited. And it's about flying high and above the clouds and defying gravity. Has anyone seen Wicked? I loved it. I saw it when it first came here. But anyway, so she's been captured by the flying monkeys. The flying monkeys. Who are the flying monkeys? They're all the people that surround us that tell us lies. It can be an inner voice as well. It can be an inner voice that we have always. My favorite analogy is the two angels on our shoulder. One is the good angel, one is the not so good angel. And one says, you can do it, you can do it. And the other says, no, you can't. You're not educated enough. You're not whatever enough. I can't think of a word right now. But that's the flying monkeys are the things that are holding you back from being your fullest potential. Those parts of us. But at the castle, when Dorothy is confronted now, she's being held captive and she's confronted by the bad witch. What does she do? She throws water on the witch. The water, what does the water represent that she throws on the witch? It represents pure consciousness. And it also represents her going with her intuition. She picks that up. She's not thinking about it. She just sees the water. Why does she see the water? Because she is trying to protect the scarecrow who the witch is trying to burn with fire. Right? And this, again, goes back to Dorothy's morality. Dorothy never thinks about if it's right or wrong. Ooh, what are the consequences? She just reacts to save, to do the right thing in the moment. When she does that, what happens? Remember or know that water, in whatever form it presents itself, whether it's a cyclone with wind and water, or it's other things like a tornado, not a tornado, but a tsunami, water also represents emotion. And so when she picks up that water, the emotion that's in that water for her is pure love. Pure love. Because she's not thinking about anyone else but love. She's going to save her dear friend that she's traveled this journey. And so the other thing I want to draw your attention to about water is when Jesus walked on water, he was above consciousness. He was above limitation. He knew that he had control over the physical plane. That's the same thing that Dorothy just did. She didn't buy into the fact that this was the wicked witch who could not be defeated. She defeated her because in love, she was trying to save someone she loved. Does that have a familiar ring to what the Master Jesus did for humanity? Loved a greater love, a beyond conscious love. And remember that the love we talk about here is not emotional love. It doesn't have emotion. When you meet a great holy person, I've been fortunate to meet two in my life. They don't get all wishy-washy, smiley, huggy. They are very centered, holy people. They don't get swayed one way or another. They beam the love. You are, in their presence, made into love. They may hug you, but it's not an emotional hug. It's a warm, embracing, uplifting your energy love hug. I had the privilege in my seminary years of meeting a wise one. His name was Thomas. And Thomas chose, and we want to look at this too, when we're talking about Dorothy and the physical reactions she had to her love. He was one of the holiest men in the village. People that went to the seminary lived in this little village. But he manifested stomach cancer at the end of his life. And we talked about that in his room because every time I went, I would go and visit him. And he was at home. He would not go into the hospital. He knew that he was ending. I don't think it was called hospice at that point, but he was there. But just to be in his presence was to be blessed. And Thomas taught me this lesson. When we manifest an illness, an accident, something on the physical plane, we do not, as New Thought Christians, look at fault. What did I do to make this happen? We can look at it as sacrificial service to make sacred. He actually said he was not upset by what he manifested with stomach cancer. He would live every day in the full radiance of God's love so that he could maybe take a bit of the pain and suffering away from those others that also manifested that. That is sacrificial service. So we can never judge where somebody is or what physical condition they have manifested because we don't know why they did. They are maybe the angel among us that are giving us the opportunity to learn compassion, to learn understanding and forgiveness. So we never judge where we are on our path and find ourselves lacking, or where somebody else is on their path and find them wanting. That is not what we're about. Because all humans have shadows. As we become individuals, and individuation is a matter of facing the shadow and coming to grips with it, we see that Dorothy confronts the witch who melts. When we turn and face the problem, it can disappear because it no longer has power over us. Dorothy assimilates the power then of the witch in the form of the guards, because they then, the guards, even the flying monkeys, become one with her. They're released from the shadow. So when we look at what we can do to change the world, just one thought of understanding and compassion changes our whole auric field and everyone that touches us so that they can go, I am loved. And they may not even consciously know what they're experiencing. They just know that being around you feels good. And they want to be around you. And so, what's the point of the movie? All right. Dorothy at the end asked Glinda, the good witch, will you help me? Can you help me get home? And a smiling Glinda answers, you don't need to be helped any longer. You've always had the power to go back to Kansas. Then why didn't you tell her before? Said the Scarecrow. Jeez Louise. She had to go down that yellow brick road and go through the field of poppies and all this other stuff. And what does she say? Because she wouldn't have believed me. She had to learn it for herself. And that's why I used the idea this morning when I got here about me time traveling. You need to believe it before you can do it. You need to believe you can, and then you will. What's the saying that we know so well in Unity? When you can conceive it and then believe it, you will achieve it. That's the point of this whole thing. So this is what Dorothy learned. You always had the power. We have the power. We have ruby red slippers to transport us to Kansas or to another dimension or back home again to bring about the Edenic state, Eden, or to create our heart's desire. Witches and cyclones, while bad, can be a means for spiritual growth. We must learn for ourselves. Just because somebody tells you something doesn't mean it's your truth. That's what this is about, after all, is the truth, right? Truth is not given so much as it's realized, so look within. You don't have to go off in search of a mystic or seek truth from a variety of exotic religions. Truth is found in your own backyard. Reality is very simple. We create our own reality. We tend to make it more complicated than it needs to be sometimes. But the simple universal fact is that if we believe it to be so, then it is. And look at what's happening in the world today, but not just today, from the beginning of time. What we think was true and as it wasn't true is our perception of what the truth is, because we have all these layers that it has to get through. And then at the very end, there's no place like home. The kingdom of heaven is not a place, but a condition. And as the Holy Book says, verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth in me, the works that I do, shall he do also. And greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. Those greater works are what we're doing right now, because he, Master Jesus, was recognizing that we are continuing to evolve in consciousness, and we are all on the road to being Christed. He showed us the way. What was he called? The way shower. Dorothy showed us the way. So each one of us, as we step on our own yellow brick road, remember, therefore, how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast. And it says repent, but another word for that is return. And that is in Revelation. Return to source. And the first place you return to source is within your heart. Namaste. Follow the yellow brick road. So let's just take a few moments and allow this message to go within. Close your eyes and take a breath. Your inner prophet works with you as you find your own emerging next step. So first, let's pick an area you are ready to improve in your life, or choose a quality you wish to transform. Know that all transformation may not happen this week, but the change will be set into motion. So believe that, know that within yourself. And as our work is named and embraced, we can more easily spot challenges or hindrances. So just take a few moments, and look at what you want to transform and where are you setting up roadblocks? Where are you flying monkeys? Breathe deeply and just let it come. As we know that the message that Jesus taught us is that love is a great tool, the fulfillment of why we're here. And we're now going to use love to assist us in opening our hearts to the grace of God. As we open our heart to that which we want to achieve, we ask first, where do we need forgiveness in ourselves? Where do we need to let go and let God? And now ask Spirit to help you make internal adjustments so that your outer reality will allow these changes in your life. What do you need to do? Let go. Release. Where in your life are you pulled to experience your dreams? Allow yourself to see a rose-colored light in front of you. That light is your future. And from where you stand to that rose-colored future is a yellow brick road, your golden quest. Allow yourself to step out of your body onto your path, the golden path. Visualize ahead of you your soul journey, that which you in your heart know that you're here to do. Invite Spirit to be with you and all the companions of your life to be at one with you. And step down that path and into the light. The rose-colored light that represents unconditional love and power and purpose. And see around you your life as it really is. And allow yourself to bring it into your heart. And see it, feel it, know it, believe it. Experience it for yourself. You are at one with all that is. And so it is. Allow yourself to put your hands together, palm to palm in front of your heart. And let us look around at one another and say out loud the Hindu word for peace. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May peace prevail on earth. And so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Nagy. You made me remember my dream last night. Apparently, there's still more to do. We will now have our offering, and I will pray about our offering as we receive it. Together, joyously I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And so it is.
That sermon brought a lot of thoughts in my mind, as I'm sure it did in yours. There's been a thought on my mind since Wednesday about the noise in the world and how it prevents me from being in the present, hearing the voice of God, and following my spiritual path. And I was reminded of this very clearly on Wednesday afternoon. I was really participating in all the noise and shaking up of what was going on in my world. I was moving, and I was moving on Thursday, and I had made 3 trips to 3 different U-Hauls in the city and was not able to find a truck to make the move. And as I walked into the 3rd U-Haul, that was what was on my mind. And I was not in the present. And I stepped into a yellow parking curb and fell flat on my face. And one of the things that happened was that my tooth cut into my gum. And if you've ever had a bleeding gum, you know that it just spouts blood. Well, when that blood happened, the whole world went crazy around me. And I was rushed with all kinds of advice, all kinds of things to do. And I really felt how people who are well-intentioned and who want to help, who really aren't really being helpful. And what I needed to do was to assess my wounds, figure out what was going on, and then make my decisions. They were making my decisions for me based on what their reality was. And I had a hard time struggling to listen to that inner voice because of all that noise around me. And from the time I heard this song years ago, it reminded me of how the noise of the world keeps us from really following our intuition and our inner guide. The whole world is talking, drowning out my voice. How can I hear myself with all this noise? All this confusion just disappears when I find a quiet place and I can hear one clear voice calling out for me to listen. One clear voice who whispers words of wisdom. I close my eyes till I find what I am missing. And if I'm very still, I will hear one clear voice. I'm always searching which path to take. Sometimes I'm so afraid to make mistakes. Somewhere inside me, stronger than my fears. Just like the sound of music to my ears, I hear one clear voice calling out for me to listen. One clear voice whispers words of wisdom. I close my eyes till I find where I am missing. And if I'm very still, I will hear one clear voice. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. I close my eyes till I find what I am missing. And if I'm very still, I will hear one clear voice. All is well. All is well. All is well.
Please, thank you. Toto talked to you, huh? Pray with me the prayer of protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.